Hey everyone, Colin from Gaming Through the Ages here. Last week we took a look at Ys 1, a game that surprised me with how much I actually enjoyed it. So now this week we're going to be taking a look at Ys Book 2. Now again, I won't be able to look at the actual TurboGrafx edition because of hardware problems. So I will again be looking at the Steam version of Ys 2. So is this game a worthy follow-up or is it really more of the same? Let's get into it. Most people think of Ys Books 1 and 2 as basically one game. However, I found that these games really are quite different and deserve to be taken on their own merits. Ys 2 changes quite a few things. For one, you start back at level 1, and this time the level cap is 55. The bump combat system is improved by allowing you to attack diagonally. The biggest addition is that of magic. Magic changes how the game is played almost completely. The first spell you're given is a fire spell, letting you shoot enemies from far away. This is the most important spell. For one, it's useful in combat, but it's also how you damage the vast majority of bosses in the game, which I'll get back to in a bit. The second spell you gain is a light that follows you around, which both just lets you see better and, on occasion, will reveal hidden items. The third is a teleport spell, which will instantly take you to any village or town you visited. This means you don't need to always keep a wing in your inventory. The fourth spell is Alter Magic, which lets you turn into a Rue, a creature that can understand demonic speech. This lets you talk to demons and not be attacked by them, which instantly makes the world building far more interesting. The fifth spell is Time Magic, which I never used, but should let you freeze enemies in place. And the last is Shield Magic, which prevents you from taking any damage. You only get this right before the final boss, but it is incredibly useful against that final boss. Dungeon design has certainly evolved since Ys 1. In Ys 1, the dungeons were fairly linear, with only a few out-of-the-way paths that would yield treasure. Here, the dungeons are more labyrinthine. More than that, there are obstacles that you will have to overcome. For example, to find the doctor in the mine, you have to find a pickaxe elsewhere in the dungeon, then come and free the doctor. Or to climb these icy paths, you need boots that you find later in the dungeon to climb up them. The same principle applies to your magic. There are times where you need a spell to proceed, such as transforming into a Rue in order to peacefully interact with the Rue village, or using your fire magic to get past huge icicles. One is tempted to compare this to Zelda, but I think it actually preempts Zelda in years. In Zelda 1, yeah, you need items to get to certain locations, but those dungeons were far more combat-heavy and linear. Traditional uses of magic and items to get past obstacles in dungeons only began in Link to the Past, and Ys 2 predates that game by 3 years. While it is perhaps easier to get lost in dungeons now, the game does reward your sense of exploration, and the dungeons feel more fulfilling, might be the right word. They're more involved, and they ask more of you, but the dungeons are strengthened for doing so. Bosses are also, on the whole, better designed than the first game. In the first game, most of the bosses were just you trying to stab them and hoping that you wouldn't get hurt while you were hurting them. This isn't to say that there wasn't strategy involved, but the core of it was simple. In Ys 2, most of the bosses require you to shoot the bosses with magic. While that doesn't sound like a big deal, it adds more choices that you have to make on the fly. Do you equip a relic that makes your magic home in on the enemy? For some bosses this is great, but on others it'll actually make your spell unable to hit the enemy. Do you run around charging your shot, or do you try to rapid fire during your moments of opportunity? How do you position yourself so that you are accurate with your shots during the few moments of vulnerability? These are the questions you're constantly having to ask yourself. The only two bosses that are more traditional E's, as in you can't use magic on them, are the last two bosses. And to be honest, these are the absolute easiest bosses because you end up hitting like a truck, and because you've been training yourself to avoid boss obstacles the entire game, so you're just naturally better at avoiding their attacks. This stands at a sharp contrast to the final boss of Ys 1, which was a huge difficulty spike. Just because the bosses in Ys 2 are mechanically more complex doesn't necessarily make them more challenging. Well, it does to a certain extent. There are certainly more things that you have to deal with, more things that can kill you, so mechanically, Ys 2 is more challenging than Ys 1. But in Ys 1, you could not grind your way past bosses once you hit level 10, which is where you are for almost half the game. This is not the case for Ys 2, and levels continue to make a difference. While you still need to master a boss's mechanics to take them down, if you're having a tough time, you can always grind a bit so that you deal that much more damage, have that much more health, and take that much less damage. Unlike, say, the end of Ys 1, which demanded mastery to beat the game, Ys 2 provides a pressure release valve, allowing the player to exchange their time for difficulty by grinding. Invest more time, the game becomes easier as a result. Grinding, for the most part, retains its quick and easy pace from Ys 1, but with one exception. Now, combat is fast, and you can rack up experience easily and quickly, but health regeneration takes twice as long as in the previous game. In Ys 1, if you were damaged during a grinding session, you just stop, wait a few seconds, then you'd be on your way. In Ys 2, you might do a few fights, realize your health is low, and then wait a minute to a minute and a half for your health to regenerate. During some grinds, I literally got up to make a sandwich while waiting for my health to restore. It doesn't ruin grinding by any means, but it certainly adds a considerable amount of downtime that didn't need to be there. I do have to wonder how many hours accumulated by me just standing still waiting to heal. 1 hour? Maybe 2? I don't know. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the story itself is anything special. At least, it's nothing special to the modern gamer. For the time, it's certainly a standout amongst the rest of its competition. It's also a better story than Ys 1, which I called a competent story in the last review, but I should stress, only competent in comparison to its competition. But what is more striking are the micro stories scattered throughout the game that really contribute to a sense of world building. For instance, in Lance Village, there is a concrete lack of iron and medicine because of the demon invasion. In addition, the character that saves you, Lilia, is suffering from some unknown disease that only the doctor can cure, but the doctor was last seen heading into the mines and never came out. This gives you a reason to head into the mines over and above the need to collect just random MacGuffins. It makes Lance Village feel like a real place, and you feel invested in its success in the process. Similarly, in the Colony of Lava, everyone is distrustful of you and hostile towards you. Why? Because a child named Tarf was kidnapped by the demons, and the village was told not to help you out if they wanted to keep the boy alive. The villagers aren't hostile to you because of you, they are merely trying to preserve one of their own. The villagers, in that sense, have agency separate from the player's goals, and that's a great narrative choice. Finally, the addition of the Rue and of Keith, a man who was turned into a demon, allows the game to spend some time ruminating on the nature of humans and demons, and to ask us to think about the guys we've been slaughtering the whole time. The fact that you can talk to enemies while in the Rue form goes a long way towards this. The world of Ys feels so much more realized than the world in Ys 1, and it was really compelling to me. By contrast, the lore reveals were they're neat, I guess. Fina and Rhea, two characters from the first game, turns out they're the goddesses of ease. And various people throughout both games ended up being descendants of the priests of ease, and then they all come together at the end. I still don't know which one descended from Priest Fact. Maybe we'll find that out in Ease Origin, I don't know. On the one hand, it was cool to be able to explore the world of Ease, but on the other hand, nothing really blew me away lore-wise. We learned that magic energy is demonic in nature, but since we didn't really have magic in the first game, it just felt like a fact we had to learn rather than a shocking revelation. Fina and Rhea being goddesses was a nice twist, but I feel like they used their time in Ease 1 poorly. For example, Fina seems to have fallen in love with Adol, but I don't really know why. We helped her out of the shrine, sure, but other than that, she was just hanging out with Jeba the entire time, falling in love with Adol from afar. All of that being said, overall, Ease 2 is a marked improvement from Ease 1. It takes the core of that game's systems and refines them in almost every respect. Falcom is clearly flexing its world-building muscles in ways that will come back in later games and in later series, so I was glad to see one of its first starts here. Narratively, the game was okay, but look, this is Ease. You don't come to Ease for narrative excellence, at least not in the beginning games, so far as I understand. Ease 2 was a great time, and I'd highly recommend it to anyone who finished and enjoyed Ease 1. Well, everyone, that was my review of Ease 2. I really liked the game, and I'm looking forward to playing more Ease. Now, for most of the Ease series, you can play each game as its own sustained adventure. Very commonly, people will point out that Ease 1 and 2 are the only ones that are directly connected to one another. But there's another game that narratively ties in to Ease 1 and 2, kind of creating a bit of a trilogy. So next week, we'll be looking at Ease Origin for the Switch. I'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, if you liked this video, feel free to give me a subscribe, give me a like, and let me know what you thought about Ease 2 down below. If you liked this video, please go ahead and share it with a friend so that we can tell more people about this channel. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you again next week. Have a great day.